have you ever picked up a hitchhiker?
No, I have not, but I am a girl and
Hmm,
I feel like it's
that
like
makes sense.
certain fears are like just in me. So I don't think I would ever pick up a hitchhiker unless maybe I was with other people who wanted to do so.
Yeah. And you also are in a lot of horror movies, and that's like the plot of 30% of the horror movies is how they start. So I guess that makes perfect sense. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and today I'm joined by Najarra Townsend, who plays Siri in The Darkness of the Road, which is releasing in DVD, digital, and on demand on December 14th, 2021. We're going to talk to her in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
There's a storm headed this way. It's just me and my daughter.
Any room for an extra passenger?
Since you're alone, and with your girl and all.
Where is she? We go back. We can call 911.
I'm never gonna forgive myself if something bad happens to her.
Our car just broke down and there's a little girl missing. What happened to your face?
Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Najarra Townsend, who plays Siri in The Darkness of the Road, which released yesterday. It's available on DVD, digital, and on demand on December 14th, 2021. And she was also in the surprisingly amazing Dementia Part 2 that I saw earlier this year. It was a lot of fun. This was less fun, but still a pretty good movie. So thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So I guess the first question is, how did you get involved in this project? It seems like a very, I don't know, like a small project, but one that has a lot of emotion and a lot of kind of meaningful acting for you. So how did you get this, and had you worked with any of the people before?
The producer, one of the producers working on this film, was working on another film of mine, and he reached out to me and asked if I was interested in reading the script and what I thought of the role. And I read it, and I was like, "This is so upsetting." But
That's
I
a good reaction, I guess.
it was really upsetting, and I thought, it would be I thought it would be a really fun challenge. So I was like, yeah, I'm interested in the role. So he scheduled a meeting for me to meet with the director and kind of read over a few of the scenes and talk about the part, and that was it. And then they offered it to me, and yeah, I was really excited. I was really excited to put myself through hell. I don't know why.
I like how this is, an upsetting acting experience that turns out well, because I feel like a lot of times you probably have upsetting, roles or things that feel upsetting, and you're like, I'm not going to get that. But this one, you actually liked it, and you got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so was it? So I guess what was it about the character that really appealed to you? I mean, you kind of have to carry a lot in this movie because there aren't that many characters, and a lot of the emotion, a lot of kind of the intrigue is on you and your co I don't know, road trip friend. I don't know what you call her.
Yeah, yes. I think one, I don't normally play a mom,
Mhm.
and at the time I just thought that would be really something new and something challenging, and and yeah, there aren't that many characters in this movie. I thought it was just an interesting story, and I just wanted to see how I just wanted to put myself up to that challenge and see how I would do. Um, yeah, and it's weird because we shot this a while ago now. We shot this in 2018,
Okay.
and since then I've become a mom because
Oh,
I wasn't one at the time, and I've had a kid since. And now I'm like, oh, I realize in hindsight certain things I would have done differently. Um, yeah, which is also fascinating when you look back on your films, just the things you would change about
I
them.
imagine you never leave your kid. Like, if you go into any store, you're like, you're coming with me. He's like, he or she is like chained to you.
Well, yeah, and like in hindsight, I'm like, my goodness. I mean, I don't have a 6-year-old; I have a baby still, and but I can't imagine leaving her in the car, like leaving my 6-year-old in the car while I went to the gas station for a long time. Like I'm like, no, why did she do that?
Yeah, but I feel like horror, there's always those situations like, why would you do that? But it wouldn't really be a good movie if it's like, well, we stopped at a gas station, we got gas, I couldn't pay for all of it, but I got some, and then we kept driving and everything was fine.
Sure, sure, sure. You do have to go into some world of disbelief a bit.
Exactly. So actually, that's interesting that it was filmed in 2018, because one of my questions was going to be, was this filmed during COVID? Because this totally could have been a film filmed during COVID. You've got kind of an isolated area, small cast, small number of sets. So this was, I guess, maybe a precursor to our future apocalyptic lifestyle.
I guess so. Yeah, this would have been an excellent film to shoot during that time because of how small it is. But no, it was like March 2018.
Excellent. Okay. And so I guess, how did you prepare for this role? It sounds like maybe it affected you so much you wanted to then have a kid, but how did you prepare to take on this role? I mean, I don't know, did you observe moms? Did you like take care of a niece for a week and realize how tough it was? Like, how did you get ready for this one?
That would have been smart. I actually I haven't known, I wasn't around that many kids. I just I asked women I knew who were moms some questions. I feel like the majority of the prep for this film, for some reason, was a lot of rehearsal. The director got my co-star Leah Lauren and I together, and we rehearsed a lot, and we talked to him about the characters, and that was kind of the extent of it. It was just like discussions and rehearsals and like my own work that I did to kind of get into Siri's headspace, and kind of understand where she was coming from up until the moment we meet her.
And so I'll just put this out there. If you want to, after, give me your address. I can send you some of my kids and they can help you prep for, whatever your next movie is. I will do that for you for your professional development if you want to.
Generous of you, thanks.
I try to do what I can to help the industry. So so you and your co-star kind of are pretty much the bulk of this movie. So it sounds like you hadn't met before. You just had some, I guess, chemistry reads or just some prep reads before. What was it like working with her? Because there's a lot of support and then tension that kind of goes in and out. So how was it working with her, and especially in such a confined space?
Yeah, it was great. Like I said, we did some rehearsals beforehand. The director did something interesting with us. He would be like, okay, on Wednesday, like, think of it as a rehearsal day, but I'm just gonna meet at the office. I'm gonna give you like an itinerary for the day, and you two will go off and do these things. And it would be like, oh, we go to, and they all had to do with like things to do with the character in a way, but it would be like we had to go out for a meal here, and then we went and saw a movie, and then we went to this coffee shop, and like we went and did things. We went to a flea market at one point and got stuff for my little girl, and like we did stuff for our characters and to bond. And instead of just rehearsals, it was activities, which I thought was really cool. So we spent, LA, you have to drive everywhere. So we spent a lot of time like in the car talking on our way to these things we had to do. And that was kind of how we connected and got to know each other. And then obviously on set, we spend a lot of time together.
Definitely. So it's LA. So it's like, we're going to get a cup of coffee. Okay, that's 3 hours in traffic on the 405. We're going to get a cup of coffee, but we can't park because there's no parking. So we'll drink it in the car and then we'll drive right back.
Pretty much exactly that. Yep.
And I love the sacrifices that you made to prepare for this character, going to a movie, going to get a meal. This is some intense work.
Yeah, it was exhausting. It was hard stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? There is a very real possibility that your car will break down on an LA freeway. That seems to be a very common thing. So
yeah, that's true. Had that happened, that would have been excellent preparation.
Yeah, but you have also, I guess that would have been a really good stressful situation to stretch your chops on. And so the film is it's mostly filmed in this car and around the car. So what was it like filming in that situation? Because it feels like, your character has to do some, I don't know, contortion is not the right word, but you have to, move around in this car that is probably a tight space, especially when you're worried about camera angles and making sure you get the right shots. So what was that filming like, especially when you have to worry about your co-star and then some other things that are happening around in the car?
Yeah, it was challenging, especially because we were in the middle of the desert at night every night, and it was so cold. I was wearing like my costume, but under my costume we had like thermals and long johns and like so many layers. So not only were you in a car that was confined, but like you felt constricted by your clothes because you're wearing so many of them. So it was you're just kind of uncomfortable. But I feel like once you hear like cameras rolling, you kind of forget those things and you just are in the scene and worried about what is going on around you. So it was okay. It was slightly claustrophobic at times, but that I feel like that just feeds the scenes.
Exactly. I was gonna say maybe being a little uncomfortable is good for this movie. That actually kind of works out pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, it all worked out.
So while filming at night, that's I mean that's scary. I mean, obviously you're with a crew, but that must have been difficult both to kind of adjust your schedule for that and then also being out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. I know how dark the California deserts can get. I assume it was in California. I'm not sure where it was actually filmed.
It was, yeah, we shot in California. And yeah, it's so and we shot like I want to say it was deep in like the middle of Palmdale or Lancaster. It was like the middle of nowhere and it is just so pitch black out there. And it would definitely be scary if you were alone. It would be petrifying. It was nice to be able to shoot out in the desert though, because I think there was talk before we started shooting. I think they talked about doing it on a stage because it's so black that they could have gotten away with it. But the director, I think, was adamant that it had to be in the actual desert so that we could feel like what that would feel like. And so I found it really beneficial. But yeah, shooting a couple nights is hard, but shooting like 30 days of night, when you're done with it, it's just like, so you're just in a whole different world.
30 Days of Night, the vampire movie with Josh Hartnett, right? That was a fantastic film too.
I like that film.
Yeah, it was surprising. Let's talk about that now. Yeah, well, so 30 days for, I mean, I'm not like that is, I guess it feels surprising given, the kind of the length of this film, but I guess if you're limited to night and you probably have to do a lot of setup before, like that seems like a lot of time for an indie film to have to.
I think it was probably like 24 days to be specific, but it took place like the whole month of March. But yeah, it was a lot of days. I think it was, to be precise, I think it was 23 days of night and we had one day that it was actually during the day. And it was so hot during the day. That was again like one of those things that I had all those layers on thinking, oh yeah, it's so cold at night here. And then during the day it was like 100 degrees. I was like, what? How can it be so hot and so cold? Just depending on the hours. But yeah, I guess it seems like a lengthy shoot for such a contained cast and location and stuff, but yeah.
Look, I've never made a film, so I don't know exactly. I just kind of estimate, but that does, I mean, I guess, but you do have, I assume there's a lot of setup, and then it's difficult to get the shot, and then they have to review it because you probably can't really tell when you're filming at night. It's probably tough to kind of really see how it looks. So yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. You want to take your time, want to make sure that everyone's safe, and especially if you're on a road. I assume you were on like an actual road. It must have been tough to plan that as well.
Yeah, there's so many little things that go in and just take a lot of time. Plus, like we working with a kid, also you're limited for certain hours. They have to be wrapped before a certain time, so you're just kind of fighting all the elements of stuff.
And that was another question I was going to ask. So yeah, you filmed, like you had a young co-star in some scary situations. How was that like? It sounds like obviously everyone was taking the precautions they needed, but what was it like filming? I'm always interested in filming a horror movie with a young child because they're kind of crucial to the movie and your emotional attachment, but obviously you have to be concerned with what they see, what they do. So what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great. Luckily she wasn't, I can't imagine doing like that type of stuff with a very young child, like a 3-year-old. That would be really hard to explain it to them. But I want to say she was like 8 when we shot. So she understood to a degree what was going on, and her mom was great. They both were great, and she was just really excited to do it. And I remember being like that age and working in film and it's just you're discovering like how magic works, so you're just so excited the whole time. So that's what she was just like so excited to be doing all these things and be like emotional and be in these put in these situations. And she was such a trooper. Especially there's like a really difficult scene towards the end of the movie, and it was just so cold, and there were just aspects of it that were not like lovely to deal with, and she dealt with it. So she was just so excited to be doing it. So it was really fun. And anytime I was like unsure about like I guess how to talk to her or approach her, I would just go to ask her mom, like, hey, is this okay? Like, can we talk about this? Can we do this? Because you don't always know how much the kid is being told about what's going on. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's another that must be difficult for her and her mom. I mean, you obviously are working and staying up late at night, but I assume that they have day activities and then night activities. That must have been a tough shoot all right. And maybe that's why it took so long, because you had, like you said, limited time that you could actually shoot with
Yeah,
her. And
kids
then
have so many rules when it
Mhm.
comes to the hours they can work and when. Like I don't know if this is correct, but I think she had to be wrapped by like 11 p.m. or something. Like she could never go past a certain time.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ways to protect kids in film now, which is great.
That makes sense. And you mentioned some of the difficult scenes. I'm pretty sure I know which scene you're talking about. But you also have a pretty difficult scene, a dangerous scene involving a gun. What was that like to film? Was that tough? Or I mean, obviously everyone was safe, but was that like a difficult scene to film? Because you do something that I think it would be tough to do, even if you know everything is safe.
If I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've always been, when it comes to guns on set, I've always been really obviously extremely careful with them. But like the first time I had to handle a lot of guns on a movie, I production luck like we talked about it, and I was sent to a gun range, and like I learned the ins and outs of how to like take them apart, how to clean them, how to shoot them, how to be safe with them. So luckily I've been able to take that into other movies with that knowledge. And as long as you have as long as you have a weapons expert who's on set and like everybody's on the same page, it's fine. But yeah, it's just making sure you're comfortable, your co-stars are comfortable. I wasn't worried about it because I had done it before.
And I assume at that point you probably trusted everyone. Everyone was kind of, doing good work, and you've been doing it for a while, so you were kind of a well-oiled machine at that point. Although I guess I don't know when it was filmed. Maybe it was filmed. They were like, we're going to start with this really tough scene first, just so we can put everyone on edge.
No. Luckily, our AD on this film was great, and he scheduled the movie well, so we didn't start with anything crazy.
And I'm always curious, when you have a film that's a little bit more serious, were there any? What was the mood on set like? Were there any funny instances that happened? Were there things to lighten the mood, or were you just trying to kind of stay in the moment while you were filming in the desert at night, freezing cold? Like, I guess it would be very easy to stay in kind of an unsettling mood.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of especially because this is so emotional. I don't like staying in it in between like scene like setup changes and things, because then you're just you're miserable all the time. So I kind of like to like lighten the mood, and luckily our director was amazing and I found him hilarious. So we would joke and laugh in between scenes, and we would all, like the makeup artists and Leah and myself, we'd all like huddle around the heaters they put out in the desert and do like squats for like just forever, just trying to warm up. So we all had like little like games we would play in between stuff to just kind of keep awake, keep warm, keep distracted. Like, yeah, we had tricks.
Yeah, this would be a tough film to method act for 24 days of shooting. That would be a very dark time in your life.
Yeah, I think your body doesn't know that it's fake all the time. So like putting that amount of stress on you and then not coming out of it night after night, that I just can't imagine the damage you would do to your poor body.
And so I do kind of have to ask, there's gonna be spoilers. If you don't want to know what happens in the movie, this is gonna be a spoiler. Do you think that the ending was happy or sad? Because I don't know. I honestly don't know after watching it a couple times.
That's interesting. I would hope that whatever people want to think is their own version of it, and they're correct. I thought it was unbelievably upsetting and depressing, and to me that's just a cycle that will continue on, and it's just really sad.
Yeah, I think this is one of those endings that, and I'm definitely gonna ask the director when I talk to him. Like, you can pull pieces out of it, and depending on which, I don't know, version, because it feels like there's a few scenarios that you could say, well, this might be the real one, or this might be the real one. You could pick happy or very sad things about it, and so I was kind of curious. Like, I didn't really know how to feel after it, but it definitely evoked questions and kind of emotions, which I think is probably what they were hoping for.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's if it makes you think about it, or it starts a discussion with the person you watched it with, like I think that's really that's something I really like about films myself. So when I'm in one that does it, that's one of the things that appeals to me.
And I guess along those same lines, if you're comfortable answering this question, do you think that it was like a religious message? Because I had not picked up any sort of religious iconography or imagery up until that last scene, and I was like, oh, this okay, maybe this is what that's what this is going for. But I hadn't like I didn't, and I don't, I'm if a movie has a religious message, that's perfectly fine. But I wasn't sure, like, is this religious or is it not? Like, or is it just kind of showing consequences of your actions? I wasn't certain, how that how that worked out.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never really gave that too much thought. And you're right, there aren't any like hints at that throughout the film. You don't see like I don't wear a cross or something. Like there's nothing like, yeah, I don't really, I think that also would be very depending on who you are as a person, how you would kind of think of that and view that. I'm not necessarily a very religious person, so maybe I wouldn't have drawn that from it.
Well, there you go. Plenty of things you can draw from the ending, plenty of questions left, but it definitely will evoke your emotions.
Mm.
So now we have limited time, so I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just very lightweight questions about the film, see how your experiences map to things that happen to the characters. You can feel free not to answer. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is, what was the last bumper sticker you had on your car?
Honestly, I think it was the color run. Did you
Nice.
ever?
I don't know what that is at all.
It's a 5K where you run, and every like 1K,
Oh,
2K, they throw like color dust on you.
yeah.
So by the end of the run, you usually wear all white. By the end of the run, you're just like a rainbow of color. And I was like obsessed with them for a while. So I got a bumper sticker at one of them, and I'm pretty sure I put it in my car.
I assume the bumper sticker is just flashes of color, right? Like
Just the colors, and it's like the color run. Yeah.
that's perfect. There we go. I don't think I've ever actually had a bumper sticker on my car. I think my last bumper sticker in my immediate circle was like a junior high honor student sticker that I begged my parents to put on their car when I was young. So I'm glad that they did. I would not do that to my car, but my parents did. So when was your last road trip?
When was my last road trip? Oh my gosh, the silly thing is I love road trips. I was supposed to go on a road trip in 2020 and it got canceled.
Yeah, remember when we could go outside and like do things, and that was fun.
Things. It would have been years ago now. I want to say the one that comes to my mind is in 2016. All I did was road trip from California to San Francisco and back.
Oh, nice.
So it wasn't even a big one. But you're reminding me how much I love them. So like, what a shame not to do them.
Now's a perfect time to go on a road trip, stay in your car, stay isolated. When you went to San Francisco, did you go the quick route up the 5, or did you go the PCH route?
PCH.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's
definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes it feel like more of a road trip too.
Yeah, you're like fields, cows, or it's like, oh, look at this beautiful sea and these mountains and this forest.
Yeah. The PCH route is the only route you should take.
Definitely. Have you ever stopped and slept in your car?
I want to say definitely, but I don't remember why I would have stopped and slept in my car. I think what comes to mind is I road tripped to Sundance one year. This would have been like a long time ago.
That's a drive.
That is a drive, and we did not sleep in the car on purpose. We got like stuck at a gas station. We were in a 4-wheel drive car. We were driving to the snow, really smart, and I got stuck, so we slept in the car that night.
That is a very California story. That is not a pejorative at all. That is just a very California story, because that's exactly what I would have done too. I'd be like, oh, I've got some chains. I'm sure I'll be fine in the snow. It'll be great.
Yeah. No problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker?
No, I have not. But I am a girl, and I feel like it's like certain fears are like just in me. So I don't think I would ever pick up a hitchhiker unless maybe I was with other people who wanted to do so.
Yeah. And you also are in a lot of horror movies, and that's like the plot of 30% of the horror movies is how they start. So I guess that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm always thinking of like the horror movie that I could be in right now. So
just constantly film it, and then you could get a director credit too. There you go.
Good idea.
Do you have anything on your keys, like a special keychain or something dangly?
I have a keychain. I have a few things. I don't even know why. One of the things on my keychain is it's like a foam. This sounds weird, like a foamy unicorn head.
Oh.
So you can squeeze it. It's almost like a stress ball, but I'm not sure if that's what it was intended for. But that's the weirdest thing on my keychain.
That is a great one. That instantly lets you recognize it. So perfect. And yeah, you got the squeezing for the stress.
You can always feel it. Like if you put your hand in a bag, you're like, oh, there's the keys because they're so squishy.
There you go. Have you ever had to abandon your car and walk somewhere, like run out of gas, break down? Sounds like you almost abandoned your car at that gas station, but you stayed there.
Yeah. Yes, I've definitely ran out of gas before and had to walk to get more gas.
That is my nightmare scenario, but I know it's common, but
yeah, it's not fun.
Have you ever had to break into your own car?
I really am upset I don't have a better memory because I have a distinct memory of crawling through the trunk, like going into the trunk and going into the front of the car.
That's another horror movie. Perfect.
But I don't know how I would have gotten in the trunk if I got locked out of the car. So I don't. So my memories are a little like jumbly. So I do feel like I've broken into my own car, but I don't know how I had access to the trunk and not the front of the car. Maybe
I don't know, like maybe the lock froze or something froze on the lock so you couldn't get your key in. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. That's a good mystery to solve.
Yeah.
Have you ever punched someone?
No. Okay. I haven't. And you know what? Every time I have to punch somebody in a movie, I think about that. I think about like, I've never actually punched somebody, so this might look really bad. But
well, that's your assignment for after this. Go on a road trip, get in a fight, break into your car. We'll just have a nice list right here.
Oh man, sounds like a stressful trip.
Yeah, well, or a great story.
Well, yeah.
And the last question is, do you have a tattoo?
I do have a tattoo, but they're kind of like secret tattoos. But they're not secrets because I'll happily share. When I was 18, on my 18th birthday, I had to do like everything you could do when you were 18. So one of those things was like, I can get a tattoo. I better get one. So I got a heart on my wrist, but it's in white ink.
Oh,
so it's
nice.
Again, so you can't really see it. And then the following year, I got a puzzle piece on my other wrist in white ink. So nobody would know unless I told them and like you looked at my wrist carefully.
I like that. That's nice because you got your own little, you have the tattoo, so you've got the art on there, but it's only for you and like your close circle. I like that.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a very good answer. And so the movie just came out. It came out on DVD and on demand. You're out promoting it. I imagine you must have other projects in the works as well. What's next for you after fans see this? What else can they look for you in?
Well, recently I had a film release called The Stylist. I also, a few months ago, had Dementia Part 2 was released. I have another film that should be coming out next year called Bits. And I am shooting something in February, which I can't talk about yet, but I'm very excited about, and it is another horror movie.
Excellent. You have a great horror resume, and I'm very happy that you are staying around in horror because it is definitely fun to watch. So thank you so much for your time. This is Najarra Townsend, and the film is The Darkness of the Road. Thank you so much.
Thank you.